Joe Rogan speaks about why fasting helps with aging. Watch this.
And what is going on with eating? So if you have one meal, and say this meal comprises, 2,000 calories or whatever, and you have this meal at 6 p.m. and you fast for 24 hours until you eat again at 6 p.m. If you have this one meal a day, why is it better to do that than to have, say, smaller meals of like 500 calories multiple times per day, little snacks?
Well, because going back 6 million years back, we're in the trees and then in the savannah, our bodies were designed, or evolved to respond to adversity.
I like that. Our bodies were designed to respond to adversity. Fasting is a tool. It's not just a miracle, and that's important. He's not saying it makes you immortal. He's saying it might slow down some of the damage we stack up over time.
And we've removed that from our lives because it feels good. But we need adversity to be resilient and to fight disease. So what I'm saying is that period of hunger, and it's not even hunger these days. I don't even feel it. I feel great if I don't eat. And it takes a few weeks. So anyone wants to start, give it some time, give it a couple of weeks. But what's happening in the body is you're turning on these adversity hormesis response genes. We call them longevity genes. And they make the body fight aging and diseases. And so by eating through the day, the traditional, you got to have breakfast, best meal of the day, blah, blah, blah. First of all, it's not true that you need to be full or fed to think clearly. It's very clear that people who are fasting have as good, if not better, mental acuity. Okay.
This is where fasting gets really misunderstood. People here don't eat and think it's extreme, but biologically, humans evolve with periods of not having food constantly available. As he referenced 1 million years ago when we were looking for food in the trees, this is the very same example. Very same example.
That's one. So I think that needs to be thrown out the window. Kids are different. We're not talking about kids, we're talking about adults. And we're not talking about malnutrition or starvation too, let's be clear. But we are talking about lengthening that window of not eating. So if you always are satiated, fed, your body says, hey, I've just killed a mammoth. No problem. Don't need to worry about survival. I'm just going to go forth and multiply and screw my long-term survival. So this is all about long-term survival by making the body freak out that there's tough times. And that's running away, like running away from a cat, like the savannah, and being hungry. Or, there's molecular reasons that all this works, but, trust me, that the data is very clear that this is the way to go if you want to be healthy in your 80s and 90s.
And he's talking the truth, because if we talk about such things such as inflammation, that's a big deal. Chronic inflammation is linked to aging. Joint pain, brain fog, a lot of stuff people think is just getting older, but we are not necessarily designed to wear out whenever we get older. Instead, it's supposed to be the opposite. We're supposed to be much more flexible, much more agile, much more faster. But then in the long term, because of how we eat and how we, the relationship that we have with food is much more different than we had before. So right now it becomes vice versa instead of the other way around.
Well, it actually does make sense when you put it in that way, that your body, when you're fed, relaxes. And so if you're just doing that all day long, and I know for a fact that when I am not fed and I go and do things, whether it's perform, one of the things that I've been doing is I don't eat before shows. Like I take many hours before a comedy show. And I used to just eat whenever. I just eat, and then I would do shows and I would have a meal like an hour before the show, and I'm really trying to wake up. I'm really trying to come on. But I've now recognized, actually I saw a video where Cat Williams was talking about this. Do you know who Cat Williams is? Hilarious.
One thing about this particular part is that it connects fasting with discipline. It's not just physical, it's also mental. Being able to sit with hunger changes how you relate to comfort and also impulse,
Comedian.
I do know.
Well, you're slipping if you don't. He's hilarious. When he was doing this interview and he was saying, they were saying, what's your process before a show? And one of the things is I don't eat. I make sure I don't eat. And I was like, that's wise. That's really smart. And I'm like, I needed to hear that even though I kind of knew it, but I'd never written it down. I never associated it absolutely, but now I have. Like now I do not eat before shows. I won't do it unless I know I have 3 hours.
So what's your average day look like?
It depends entirely on whether or not I'm doing podcasts. If I'm doing podcasts, generally I'm up early. I get my workouts in. I usually have something to eat after the workout. So I'm talking about like I eat around 11.
What's interesting here is Joe isn't anti-food. He's anti-constant eating. Modern humans snack all day long. And biologically, that might be confusing our system. For you to be at the edge, for you to have that grit, you need to be hungry. That's why people get angry, people get all of these things whenever they're hungry.
11 a.m., that's my first meal of the day. And then I go and do my stuff. And I generally feel like my workouts are so strenuous that I need some sort of nutrition afterwards. Some sort of fruit to pump the muscles back up and give them some sugar and some protein. So usually I'm eating meat and maybe like an apple or something like that. That's like a normal meal for me. And then I don't eat again until nighttime.
Great. And you're not snacking?
No, maybe sometimes after a podcast I'll have we have these On It Warrior bars that are just buffalo meat and some cranberries and stuff. I like those. I'll eat one of those.
Good. Well, at least you're going till 11. You got that sleep.
Yeah.
So you're probably not eating late.
Yeah, it's just the...
This is where the aging conversation gets real. If your body is always digesting, it never fully switches into repair mode. That idea alone flips how people think about meals. As this guy is saying to Joe Rogan that, look, I hope that you do not eat at night or late at night because the body needs time to digest. And the best time to digest is when you are awake. And that's what a lot of people don't realize.
Strenuous activity, my workouts are very hard. So after them, I feel like I need something. I don't like that feeling of like a brutal workout and then being starving for 4 or 5 hours because then it becomes a distraction. So I listen to my body. But if I don't work out, I don't eat until dinner. Like say a day like today, I didn't work out today. So I woke up, hung out with the dog, had some coffee, sat out, went over some emails, did some shit, just a relaxed morning, and then rolled into here, no food.
Joe's experience-based approach matters here. He's not claiming lab sanctity. He's talking about how he feels, how his energy changes, and why that got his attention. It's very important to listen to this part.
Perfect.
I won't eat until we're going to dinner tonight. I won't eat until then.
Yeah, with Lex. That'll be fun.
Yes, that's going to be fun. And John Donaher.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, looking forward to meeting him.
Yes.
So you're doing the right things, certainly better than most people. But what I'm trying to make are molecules that mimic fasting as well. So if you cannot fast like I do, then you can just take a pill. And what we've shown in mice at least is that if you give them this molecule that I'm taking, NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, which as I mentioned, speeds up metabolism, does all that stuff. Those mice could run 50% further. These old mice, we gave it to them for 3 weeks, put them back on a treadmill, and those that had the NMN in their water ran 50% further. They had better blood flow, better oxygenation, better energy.
This part touches on longevity culture, supplements, routines, and biohacks. Fasting stands out because it doesn't cost money, which might be why it's so controversial,
And that is literally exercise in a pill.
That's crazy.
So we're in late stage human clinical trials now.
Wow.
When do you think this is going to be released to the public?
Well, it depends on what the FDA does and if
Those
it works.
motherfuckers.
Oh, don't get me in trouble. I love the FDA. But it's fair enough. They protect us.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going through the procedure that has been around since, as I mentioned, early 20th century. But we've done hundreds of people now, certainly dozens, over the last few years. And we know at least that this molecule is apparently safe and raises the levels of the molecule we want to build up. The molecule's called NAD.
Okay. So whether fasting works for you or not, this conversation challenges the idea that aging is totally out of control. Sometimes it's not about adding more, it's about doing less. Do you think fasting is a legit tool for longevity, or it's just another trend that sounds smarter than it really is? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like and also subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.